In our headlines on this Friday, May 23rd, here in South Korea. Presidential contenders are poised to face off in a second television debate to be aired live this evening on matters of social concern as Korea counts down 11 days to the June 3rd snap election. Meanwhile, trade delegates from Seoul and their counterparts in Washington, D.C. ended their latest technical talks on tariffs amid hopes for a tangible deal once a new administration enters office on June 4th. And an American daily says the U.S. Defense Department is exploring the option of relocating some American soldiers stationed here in South Korea to other parts of the Indo-Pacific, raising concern about regional security. Welcome to the Daily Report. Today we start with a gauge of voter sentiment ahead of the two-day early voting that begins next Thursday and the snap election on June 3rd. Oh Se-young has our top story.
With just 11 days until the June 3rd presidential election, the stakes are higher in the final public opinion polls and the candidates' televised debates. Gallup's final survey conducted this week shows Democratic Party's Lee Jae-myung is still ahead with 46% support. But compared to a week earlier, his approval dropped 6 points, while his main rival Kim Moon-soo of the People Power Party has gained 7 points, narrowing the gap between them from 22 points to 10. Meanwhile, the Reform Party's Lee Jun-seok saw his support jump to 10%, marking two-digit figures for the first time in this race. The final National Barometer survey on Thursday showed a similar trend. Lee Jae-myung lost 3 points, while Kim Moon-soo and Lee Jun-seok scored higher ratings at 32% and 10%. It seems conservative and moderates have been solidifying their votes as election day draws near. The gap between the main Liberal and Conservative candidates shrunk to about 1/3 of last week's level in the Seoul capital region.
If you look at the regional voter distribution released monthly by Gallup Korea, Conservatives actually outnumber Progressives. Given this numerical advantage, how actively Conservatives are willing to vote in this election is, in my view, critically important.
Among independent voters who don't affiliate themselves with any party, preferences for the DPM reform candidates was neck and neck, while the PPP contender fell to 3rd place. Younger Koreans, regarded as swing voters, also made decisive moves. Among voters aged 29 and under, support for reform's Lee Jun-seok jumped to 26%, closely behind the DP's Lee Jae-myung's 30%. The PPP's Kim Moon-soo was significantly behind at 19%. As all candidates aim to solidify their support base, the number of respondents who said they could switch the candidate they vote for fell 1 percentage point to 16%. More than 8 in 10 people say they'll vote in this election. According to the MBS survey, voters believe the biggest task for the new president will be reviving the local economy, reforming the structure of politics, and reducing social conflict. The leading presidential hopefuls will hold a second televised debate on Friday night, focusing on societal issues. Regardless of their preferred candidate, Korean adults under 40 believe the Harvard-educated Lee Jun-seok performed the best at the candidate's first live debate last Sunday, which touched upon trade and the economy. Those in their 40s and 50s who are left-leaning overwhelmingly back the DP candidate, and those over 70 believe PPP's Kim Moon-soo had outshined others in the TV debate. Oh Se-young, Arirang News.
As mentioned in that report, presidential hopefuls are gearing up for tonight's second live debate that starts at 8 in the evening local time, having spent the day with minimal campaign activities. Our political correspondent Heo Ga-young reports.
The rival parties' presidential candidates scaled back their campaigns on Friday ahead of their second televised debate this evening. Instead, Democratic Party presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung wrapped up his trip to Gyeongsangnam-do province after paying tribute to the late Liberal President Roh Moo-hyun on the 60th anniversary of his passing away.
While paying tribute to former President Roh Moo-hyun, I reaffirm my commitment to building a country where the people are respected as the rightful owners and can live happily.
Lee met former President Moon Jae-in for lunch, during which Moon said now was a crucial time for South Korea and urged Lee to take responsibility in creating a country that respects the people. With just 11 days to go to the 21st presidential election, key political figures from across the political spectrum gathered in Bongha village located in the city of Gimhae. Attendees of a memorial service included former President Moon Jae-in and his wife, National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik, and People Power Party interim leader Kim Yong-tae. In a social media post, Kim said former President Roh Moo-hyun put the country and its people first beyond political affiliation and said he would remember Roh's hope for a world without injustice or privilege. Meanwhile, the PPP's Kim Moon-soo attended a prayer breakfast for the nation and its people, where he emphasized unity, saying that economic struggles and social division have worsened conflict. The PPP said Kim's support is growing and expressed hope that he could lead in the polls before early voting starts if the trend continues.
In the end, Kim Moon-soo's distinct character, proven skills, and clear vision will bring him victory. As the election passes the halfway point, support is starting to pick up across the country.
With the candidates set to fully resume their rallies after the debate, they are expected to put their utmost efforts into the final week of the official presidential campaign. 신하영, Arirang News, Gimhae.
Meanwhile, South Korean troops deployed overseas began casting their ballots for the 21st presidential election back on Tuesday. The Hanbit unit in South Sudan and the Dongmyeong unit in Lebanon, both deployed as part of UN peacekeeping operations, set up polling stations within their bases, with officials from the defense and foreign ministries and the National Election Commission dispatched as observers. Members of the AK unit deployed to the UAE are voting at the Korean embassy there, while the Cheonghae unit is heading to the Korean embassy in Oman. Trade delegates from Seoul and their counterparts in Washington, D.C. ended their latest technical talks on tariffs amid hopes for a tangible deal once a new administration enters the top office here on June 4th. Moon Ji-young has the latest.
South Korea and the U.S. concluded the second round of working-level consultations in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. These talks come as South Korea seeks to negotiate product-specific tariff and the reciprocal tariff imposed by the Donald Trump administration. The Korean delegation, led by Jang Sung-gil, Director General of Trade Policy at the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy, met with officials from the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative. The technical discussions focused on 6 key areas: balanced trade, non-tariff measures, economic security, digital trade, country of origin, and commercial considerations. The U.S. side reportedly raised specific issues concerning Korea's non-tariff barriers as detailed in the USTR's report from late March. That report listed 21 measures, including restrictions on imports of U.S. beef from cattle over 30 months old, digital trade barriers, and the offset defense trade policy. Washington wants Seoul to lower non-tariff barriers and expand imports from the U.S. to reduce trade deficits. The South Korean government intends to conclude negotiations with the U.S. after a new president takes office following the upcoming June 3rd election.
And once the election's over, then the new government, actually the administration team, is going to start negotiating. So if they make too much hasty decisions, and then if the new government is going to just, to flip everything, that's going to be super costly in terms of both reputation and also actual, the time and efforts.
Seoul aims to minimize the rates of the Trump administration's new duties, including 25% reciprocal tariff, as well as sectoral tariff, including 25% levies on automobiles, steel, and aluminum before July 8th, when Trump's 90-day suspension of reciprocal tariff ends. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
An American daily says the U.S. Defense Department is exploring the option of relocating some American soldiers stationed here in South Korea to other parts of the Indo-Pacific. Our Pyeon-jae covers this report.
The U.S. is reportedly considering withdrawing around 4,500 American troops from South Korea to Guam or other locations in the Indo-Pacific region. That's about 16% of the total number of U.S. forces in South Korea, where there are roughly 28,500 troops. Citing defense officials familiar with the matter, the Wall Street Journal reported on Thursday that the idea is being developed by the Pentagon for consideration by Trump as part of an informal policy review. While adding the proposal has yet to reach Trump's desk, it said this is one of several ideas under discussion by senior officials. Since his first term, Trump has considered changing the U.S. footprint in South Korea, which relies on close coordination with American forces to deter threats from the north.
It depends. We pay for military over in Europe. You know, we don't get reimbursed by much. South Korea too.
But the head of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command has presented negative views about the idea of a troop drawdown in a Senate hearing last month, saying the loss of the force on the Korean Peninsula would mean a higher probability that North Korea would invade.
As General Brunson said, North Korea's development of advanced nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles pose a direct threat to our homeland and our allies, and are executing a deepening cooperation with Russia.
Trump has been hinting at an attempt to renegotiate a deal on sharing the cost for American troops stationed in Korea, saying Washington cannot be taken advantage of any longer in military and trade. He's described South Korea as a money machine, insisting that Seoul should be paying $10 billion a year. Experts suggest pulling troops out of Korea could mean the Trump administration is looking to redeploy them to areas that better align with priority goals, such as countering China.
What the United States is saying is, we're currently focused on China. So we want our allies to take responsibility in terms of conventional defense capabilities, while we are willing to fully support in areas such as nuclear deterrence. And in return, the U.S. is asking for help in preparing to respond to potential conflicts with China, especially in the event of a Taiwan contingency.
Seoul's defense ministry explained there hasn't been any discussions with Washington over a possible troop reduction. The Pentagon reportedly said there were no policy announcements to make. Peunji, Arirang News.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security is ending Harvard University's eligibility to enroll foreign students in a dramatic escalation of tensions between the prestigious school and the Trump administration. Lee Seung-jae has details.
The Trump administration has barred Harvard University from enrolling international students moving forward. According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security on Thursday, it has revoked the school's Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification, saying that Harvard has created an unsafe campus environment by permitting anti-American, pro-terrorist agitators to harass and physically assault individuals, including many Jewish students, and otherwise obstruct its once venerable learning environment. The DHS added that many of the agitators are foreign students. The latest ban also means that currently enrolled students at the Ivy League school must transfer or lose their legal status. The move comes as Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem ordered the DHS to terminate the school's Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification due to the university's refusal to hand over the conduct records of international students as requested last month. In an interview with Fox News on Thursday, Noem said that her department is absolutely considering similar measures for other universities, including Columbia University. She stressed that what has happened to Harvard should be a warning to all other universities to get their act together. The Trump administration's revoking of Harvard's Student and Exchange Visitor Program certification means 6,800 international students enrolled in the school must transfer to keep hold of their legal status in the U.S. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Russia is creating a buffer zone along its border with Ukraine. Intentions to this end were shared by its leader Vladimir Putin on Thursday while addressing his government officials. Ukraine, for its part, has condemned the construction of the so-called security buffer zone, with its foreign ministry calling it, quote, aggressive. This latest development comes one day ahead of a planned prisoner swap between the two countries that was agreed during bilateral talks last week in Turkey. In other news, Kia's EV3 has secured the highest safety rating from the European New Car Assessment Program and Independent Evaluation Authority. According to the South Korean carmaker on this Friday, its EV3 model was awarded 5 stars for safety following an extensive assessment in 4 categories. These included adult occupant protection, child occupant protection, vulnerable road users, and safety assist. Just last month, Kia's EV3 also won the prestigious title of 2025 World Car of the Year. Producer prices eased in April amid lower oil prices and greater agricultural output. According to the Bank of Korea on this Friday, the producer price index fell 0.1% on month. The on-month decline is the first in 6 months, but on year, the index remains 0.9% higher. By product, that of agriculture saw the deepest plunge at 5.8%, with the price of onions down 15.8% and cucumbers down over 35%. Meanwhile, at this year's Cannes Film Festival, a Korean filmmaker has won the top prize in the La Cinef competition of the festival that acknowledges the work of promising film students. Heo Ga-young is the first Korean to win in this prestigious section of the Cannes event. Her short film, First Summer, was celebrated with the top honor and 15,000 euros in prize money. The film centers around a 74-year-old woman who chooses to attend her late boyfriend's memorial service over her granddaughter's wedding. The strategy of South Korea's esports industry is to lower barriers and raise opportunities for all players with potential via inclusive competitions and more. Our Eun files this report.
This group of people are university students in their everyday lives. But for this moment, they are the stars of the stage as gamers. The 2025 Gyeonggi Esports Festival has kicked off at Kintex, bringing together a diverse range of participants. This annual event strives to reshape the perception of esports and make it an integral part of everyday culture by making it more accessible. This year, the introduction of a tournament for disabled players adds greater meaning to the event. It shares the message that regardless of physical limitations, everyone can connect and enjoy the experience of gaming.
I have an intellectual disability, which makes it hard to express my emotions. I joined this tournament because it features a game I'm familiar with, so I felt confident. Whatever the result, I try to accept it and move forward.
Being here on the ground, we can clearly see just how much interest people of all ages in South Korea, a global gaming powerhouse, have in a wide variety of games. But beyond the popularity, what's truly striking is the growing effort to nurture new talents in the industry. Debuting this year, the 2025 Korean Esports League kicked off with eternal return matches at the festival and continues with competitions across the country, including PUBG Mobile and FC Mobile tournaments. Hosted by the Culture Ministry and co-organized by the Korea Esports Association alongside leading game developers including Krafton and Nexon Korea, the league aims to strengthen the foundation of the country's esports ecosystem. With teams from 14 regions participating, the league runs through October, providing a platform for the next generation of esports stars, the future fakers of Korea. Coming up in June, the Global Esports Forum hosted by the Korea Esports Association will bring together international experts to discuss global standards in esports, with Korea leading the conversation and paving the way for rising talents to take the global stage. Iuni, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. In Australia, severe flooding across New South Wales has resulted in at least 4 deaths and left more than 50,000 residents under evacuation warnings. Reports say around 4 months of rain has fallen in the region over the past 2 days. New South Wales police said Thursday that at least 4 people died and tens of thousands of residents have become isolated in a once-in-a-lifetime event. A slow-moving low-pressure system led to torrential rains and flash flooding over eastern Australia, overflowing rivers and inundating communities. A major river in Tari, a city on the mid-north coast, has been among the worst affected, reaching about 6.3 meters on Wednesday, surpassing a century-old record. Towns including Port Macquarie and Kempsey have also been severely affected, with some areas experiencing flooding for the first time in recorded history. Emergency services have conducted hundreds of rescues, and over 140 flood warnings have been issued. While more rain is expected in the coming days, some 9,500 properties have been directly impacted, and over 100 schools have been closed. Iran's foreign minister has issued a warning to Israel and the United States, saying that any attack on its nuclear facilities would be met with a decisive response. This comes amid reports that suggest Israel is preparing for potential strikes if ongoing U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations fail. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Thursday that Iran would hold the United States legally responsible for any Israeli attack on its nuclear sites. These words were delivered through a letter addressed to United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres. He added Tehran would view Washington as a participant if any Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear facilities were to occur, and that Iran's actions will correspond and be proportionate to preventive measures taken by international bodies. Earlier reports indicate that Israel is preparing for rapid strikes on Iranian nuclear sites should the current negotiations, a fifth round of which are slated for Friday in Rome, were to fail. Israeli officials have not confirmed such plans, but have previously stated that Iran's nuclear program poses an existential threat. A U.S. music talent agency said Thursday that 3 of its employees died after a small private plane in which they were traveling crashed into a residential area in the city of San Diego in the early hours of the same day. According to the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, 6 passengers were on board the plane, with some reports indicating there have been no survivors. Among them are the former drummer of a metal band, Daniel Williams, and music agent Dave Shapiro. 8 people on the ground have also been injured. Authorities say the incident occurred amid dense fog conditions as the aircraft was attempting to land at nearby Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport. Multiple homes have caught fire due to the crash, and nearly 100 residents have been evacuated. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board are investigating the incident. Also in the United States, Universal Orlando Resort has officially opened its highly anticipated theme park, Epic Universe, in Florida on Thursday. This marks the first major theme park launch in the U.S. in over 2 decades. Spanning approximately 750 acres, Epic Universe introduces 5 themed lands, including Celestial Park, Super Nintendo World, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Berk, and Dark Universe. Also, along with over 100 themed food menus and beverage options, Epic Universe's opening is expected to significantly boost tourism in Central Florida. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
From today, temperatures return to the normal range. The daytime temperature in Seoul today and tomorrow will be 23 degrees Celsius, which is around the average for this time of year. However, from tonight, it will start to rain again in the north-central parts of the country, the south coast, and Jeju Island. It will then extend to other parts of the country tomorrow. The expected amount of rainfall will be as much as 60 millimeters on Jeju Island, 20 millimeters on the south coast, and 5 to 10 millimeters in other areas. Please bring an umbrella with you when you go outside. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Gwangju, and Busan will start at 14 degrees, Chuncheon at 12 degrees. Highs will move up to 19 degrees in Daejeon, 21 degrees in Gwangju. Sunny weather will continue from Sunday, and the early summer-like heat is expected to return. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session, so do stay with us.